back to the channel, everybody. I'm sure you can tell, but we have been busy. Oh boy, have we been busy. The Neo engine, pretty stripped down. We're ready to take the head off. We're gonna be putting in fresh new head gasket on this with some ARP head studs, but we still have a lot to do. We've got to change the oil pan, get that diff off there. We've got to clean the block. I want to get this thing painted black. Look at this thing. Could definitely do with a bit of sprucing up. But Daiki, how's been your first RV experience? Good?
Good.
Has it been a pain in the butt? Has it been hard?
Little bit had no space.
No space? Could you imagine doing all of this inside the engine bay? No. I think you said to me the other day, you understand why no one does like RV stuff with drifting over here, just because it's so much. And I think the number one like pain in the butt thing is this, right? All these hoses and pipes. He couldn't believe everything that was like associated with the intake manifold on this. There's a lot. But you've been having fun?
Yes.
Learning lots?
Yeah.
That's good.
Lots.
That's good.
Yeah, that's so hard.
We're gonna get started now on pulling the head off. We get to inspect the bores, the pistons, and make sure everything's good and that we can use this block for what we want. That's probably the most important thing, is to make sure that everything's looking healthy there before we continue. So a little bit of YouTube magic and we should have this head off. And just like that, we got a 25 meter head off the block. Looking good. Actually, looking really good. Yeah, this is nice. I don't see any signs of detonation on this, which is great. That's perfect. All the plugs actually look beautiful. Everything looks amazing here, which is perfect. Over here. Oh, wow. The bores look perfect too. Everything looks amazing, which is exactly what we needed. That's great. Actually looks incredible. Let me get a light. Yeah, this is what we wanted. Now, full disclosure. You should technically send your head and block off to get refinished and surfaced, right? But we're not gonna be doing that because we should be able to get away with cleaning the composite gasket really well with a razor blade. We're gonna also use like a sharpening stone to just kind of clean all the surfaces up. Once I'm happy with it, we'll then use the Tomei head gasket and it should be fine. Now, like I said, you should do that. So if you wanna do things properly, don't. But I'm also confident that with the ARP head studs and everything, we shouldn't have an issue. So yeah, we just don't have the time, and this engine's gonna probably be in this car for a couple months, if that, maybe 6. But it just depends how long it's gonna take for us to get the other engine finished. But all the cross hatching looks amazing. I don't see any, like, nothing bad. Everything looks really good. There's a couple little like slight vertical lines, which is expected, just tiny ones. Nothing bad though. We're gonna get this head gasket off though. That's gonna be, yeah, that's gonna be fun. Today's video is sponsored by Dafsky. Dafsky has been a huge supporter of our channel from the start, and look at all the different air fresheners that you can get, especially the anime series ones. But I know you guys absolutely loved the Cherry Blossom Sakura collab air fresheners that we did, and these are in the Japanese JDM style scented cans. You guys sold out of them so fast. It actually took a while to find all the supplies we needed to be able to remake these, but they are back on Dafsky's website, dafsky.com. So go grab yourself one of these while they still last, and some of the other paper air fresheners. Grab a pack of them. They're only like a couple bucks. And thank you Dafsky for sponsoring today's video. So as you can see, the gasket's off and a lot of the composite material is still on here. So we do have a fair bit of work to clean that up. But overall, should be good. Just always take a quick visual inspection of your gasket to see if there's any issues. I see no issues. Another common thing on RVs to look out for is to see if there's any cracks and things like that between the water jackets. Look for any cracks or anything like that in between the block, the head stud ports, and just water jackets and everything here. Because if you see any slight cracking in here, you can get away with it, but it's not great. You should really think about changing the block, but I mean, I've seen people make 600-700 horsepower on cracked, like slightly cracked blocks between here, but I'd probably, just for peace of mind, I'd probably think about changing it. Now, one thing I really want to point out is the piston design. You cannot use Neo pistons in a Series 1, Series 2 RB25, and you can't technically, well, you probably could use 25 pistons in, but it might actually hit the valves in the Neo head. They are different, very different. Oh yeah, you do not want, definitely, you cannot use these pistons in that block and head combo at all. Holy crap, that would smack the valve so hard. So the pistons between the Series 1, Series 2 25s are very different to the Neos. Just with the new head design, it was a lot tighter clearances, and you can really see here, the pistons actually have recesses for all the valves. So just a heads up. Neo and standard RB25s, very, very different piston design. So just keep an eye out for that. But otherwise, everything else is somewhat the same. The Neo heads just are so much better though. They flow better, bigger porting. The water cooling in them is so much better than the Series 1, Series 2 heads. Just a lot of benefits. You can look it up online, but I'm gonna keep working away at this. We're gonna get this block looking as clean as possible. And then we gotta do the same thing to the head. And then we gotta put head gasket and studs in. But before then, once this is clean, we'll tape it all off, pressure wash the block, we'll give it a spruce of paint, and it'll come up great. Finished with the block deck now, and I've gotten the oil pan off. And Daiki, how heavy was this, right? So crazy. With the diff and everything on there, it was definitely a two-person job. You can really see that this car was kind of just like used as, I would say, like a grandpa kind of spec car. Like old people would just kind of buy this and cruise around with. Obviously, it's perfect for putting a lot of luggage in, taking the grandkids around and stuff. So I don't think this thing like really got serviced much. You can see there's a lot of oil sludge kind of everywhere, but it's pretty easily agitated and cleaned up, so it hasn't sat for a long time. It could also just be that the oil that was in there from it sitting for so long broke down and just kind of turned into that. But yeah, for the most part, everything looks really, really clean in here. And what I want to do is show you guys the difference between the all-wheel drive block and the rear-wheel drive block. So the oil pan obviously is the big one with the diff on there, but this is where the rear-wheel drive oil pickup comes from. You can see there's no hole here, right? There's just kind of the 2 points ready to accept it if it was going to be there. This is where the all-wheel drive block gets it from, and this is in a different position to how the rear-wheel drive one would be. Now, to make a rear-wheel drive oil pan fit, this is in the way. So you actually have to beat the pan with the hammer to get it to clearance this and grind this down a little bit so it's flush with this, which can jeopardize the seal with this. And also the oil pan can sometimes not sit here flush. And I know a lot of people have had issues with it sealing, so you just kind of use a bunch of RTV. Instead of going to the rear-wheel drive oil pan like what's on the original engine that was in there, it's just so much easier to take this to a fab guy, get them to cut this off, get them to cut the diff off, and then all you got to do is remove the shaft and everything and weld and plug up the 2 holes. Also, this oil pan is more capacity than the normal rear-wheel drive one, and the aftermarket solutions for them are amazing when it comes to baffle systems, just like this beautiful Tomei one, which we're about to install. And as you can see, this one's had the shaft removed, nicely welded up. We're ready to rip. We're going to be installing this Tomei baffle. Goes in just like that. We've obviously already cleaned everything. This has been sandblasted, so it looks incredible. We're going to install all the hardware that came with it, but it's very straightforward. Look at this. Bam. So nice. Cannot wait. We're going to put this all together. One other thing to note is the hole for the oil pickup in this oil pan obviously lines up perfect with this one, right? But if you are going to try and use the rear-wheel drive oil pan, you actually have to cut a different entire hole. In fact, most people just remove the entire baffling out of it, which then means you have all this sloshing going around, and it's not good for the engine. So just, I think it's so much easier. Spend like $300 with a fab guy, drop off the oil pan, and get them to just lob those off and weld it up. I mean, they'll probably do it cheaper. If you got a friend that knows how to alloy weld, he'll probably help you out and do it at mates rates. But still, this is a better oil pan. I also am wondering if it also helps with cooling, because this is cast alloy. It has more capacity. Kind of has these fins built into there. I don't know if it actually would help with the oil cooling that much, but it's something that I was just thinking about looking at it. Anyways, I'm curious to know if you guys think it would anyways. But we're gonna bolt this in, get this all ready, and put it on the engine. Got the Tomei baffle installed. I will note as well, you do have to drill out the drain holes here and just follow the instructions. But everything's in there and we are good. Got the silicone on there as well, so I'm ready to put this on the block. Come on, gotta line the studs up perfectly. This is hard. Whose idea was it to put studs on the oil pan? Oh God, we nearly made a big mess.
Oh gosh.
She's on there now. One other really good thing about the all-wheel drive oil pan is I feel like it's a little bit of a block brace. You're using M8 bolts instead of the M6 ones for the majority of the entire thing. So I just feel like that's gonna be much stronger in bracing the whole block and holding it together so it doesn't twist. Now, obviously, in a rear-wheel drive application, you don't really get that much block twistage until you're going into insane power categories. But still, it's good to have. And it's probably also just nothing compared to a real block brace that PRP sells. But hey, I like to think that it's kind of bracing the block a little bit better. We don't have the diff day twisting it, so should be fine. This thing's gonna make, I mean, it's a Neo, so we could make 600, but I'm happy with 500, and we'll kind of run from there. But the setup for turbo and cold side, it's gonna be beautiful. The ultimate street build for a 25 Neo. It's been a fair bit of time because I've been busy cleaning the head and getting everything prepped, but we have the new Tomei head gasket on here. I'm gonna lift the head up, sit that on top, and then install all my ARP head studs. Bear in mind, I still have the stock cams in here, which I will change on the head, on the block. It just makes it easier for me. Dowel pins are already on there, so I should be able to just kind of line it up and sit it in place like so. Seems like we're pretty lucky. Already in place, which is absolutely awesome. So now what I have to do is one by one install my ARP head studs and tighten this thing down following the instructions that came with ARP. Seems like they called to torque everything to 80 foot-pounds, but just a quick reminder, these just go in by hand tight. Once these are in and the nuts are on top, that's what you're talking to 80 foot-pound. Don't torque your studs to that. That would be a bad time. But just gonna pop them all in, making sure the little Allen hex key is at the top. And I already cleaned the threads and chased them so that we shouldn't have any issues installing these bad boys. All the way to 80.
What?
And Becky?
What's the number?
All the way to 80, baby.
80. Okay. Beep, beep, beep.
Okay. Oh. I think what I'm gonna do is put the Tomei cams in, but before we do that, I'm just gonna put some assembly lube on all of the shims and lifters so that it's ready for the cams. So we went with pong cams just because I wanted a drop-in solution. I didn't want to have to send the head away, obviously. So everything about this build is just trying to get something in the car as soon as possible so we can start ripping. So that's what we did. We got ourselves some pond cams. I think these are just 2 5.6s. I could have gone 2 60s, but there was going to be about a 3-week delay next month, middle of next month or so. I wouldn't be able to get it. So I went with the 2 5.6s. Definitely still way bigger than stock. Stock is 230 something, and we've gone straight to like a 256. So I think we're winning. But yeah, we've got an intake and exhaust. We'll get these sitting in place. Take your rubber off your shaft. Sorry, plastic. The plastic thing. Oof, look at that. Yeah. Sit her in place. We're pretty much done now. Just gotta zip around and tighten it, but it is a bit of a long process. Take your time when putting RV cams in. You do not want to break them. The longer the cam shaft, like this, and the easier it is to break, I feel. So just take your time, be careful. We're pretty much done now. Just gotta zip around and tighten it, but it is a bit of a long process. Take your time when putting RV cams in. You do not want to break them. The longer the cam shaft, like this, and the easier it is to break, I feel. So just take your time, be careful. We got both cam shafts installed. Those with a keen eye would have noticed that I put the exhaust cam in the intake side of the engine. So I did pretty much 3 cams, no, 4. 3? I don't know. Anyways, I just had to take it back out, put it on the exhaust side, and blah, blah, blah. It sucks, but I'm so tired and out of it right now and hungry. Me and Daiki are both just like, we're done. We shouldn't be working on engines anymore. If I'm making mistakes like that, I need to go home and I need to eat and I need to go to sleep. Because yeah, we definitely don't want to have that issue. But yeah, exhaust side is now on the right side and intake is now on the right side. So that's the main thing. I just took out all of the old plugs, which looks like just the typical Nissan kind of OEM NGK ones. And of course, we're putting in my favorite plug, which is the HKS Superfire Racing plugs, the M45Is. These are great. These are pretty much equivalent to a number 9, and they are awesome. I put them in all my cars, and I never have any issues. But yeah, fresh set of plugs going in, ready. Drop this bad boy in too, and we'll be ready to rip. Don't worry guys, I'm not gonna be painting the rocker covers blue. I just sat these ones on here to keep anything from falling in there overnight and whatnot. But yeah, she's all done. Purely because that was gonna take a lot more extra time, and I stopped myself because this is just a temporary kind of interim engine solution for this until the other bigger, better engine is built, right? So yeah, that's why I just was like, you know what? It doesn't really matter that the block's a little dirty and stuff. For now, this is more than enough. But yeah, we got a lot done today. Oil pan, head, gasket, studs, cams. This thing's gonna be ready. Tomorrow when we get all the extra stuff from Nissan, the seals and everything, I'll have this thing timed and ready to rip. We'll then be just waiting for some more parts to arrive for the cold and hot side, and she'll be ready. I think the next step to all of this is probably going to be obviously cleaning the engine bay and sorting out that wiring mess in there and just getting everything sorted and ready. I do need to do a little bit of research as obviously we're putting a Neo in a 33. I think there's just a few plugs and stuff like that we may have to change over, or we might be able to get away with using like the throttle body and TPS from the 33 engine, but I'll figure that all out and let you guys know when we get to that point. But yeah, she's looking pretty good. This is exciting. We're really close. I think this engine's going to be running probably next week in the engine bay. I don't want to obviously jinx that, but definitely in at least 1 to 2 weeks, this thing's going to be running, and that's got me really excited.